Retro Static Radio proudly takes pleasure in bringing you a parade of outstanding thrillers, sci-fi, and horror. The most notable melodramas from stage and screen, fiction and radio, presented to bring you to the edge of your chair, to keep you in suspense. Good evening. This is Arthur Carey, and truly am I proud at tonight's episode of Suspense. Originally broadcast on May 25th, 1943, written by Lucille Fletcher and performed by the iconic Agnes Moorehead. This study in terror is, to quote Orson Welles, the greatest single radio script ever written. In the 75 years since this first hit airwaves, the telephone, the instigator of this tale, has evolved. As the curator of these tales, I must insist that, while the telephone has become automated and wireless, the fears within this tragedy are universal, and still ring through the spine today. So tonight, we add to the cultural, historical, and aesthetical legacy of the radio play, Sorry, Wrong Number.
Oh, dear.
What number, please?
Operator, I've been dialing Murray Hill 70093 for the last 3/4 of an hour, and the line is always busy. I don't see how it could be busy that long. Will you try it for me, please?
I would be glad to try the number for you. One moment, please.
No, I don't see how it could be busy all this time. It's my husband's office. He's working late tonight, and I'm all alone here in the house. My health is very poor, and I've been feeling so nervous all day.
Ringing Murray 70093.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, George.
Hello?
Is that you? Yes, this is George. I'm here with
Hello?
our client.
Who's this?
Oh,
What number
good.
am I
Is
calling,
everything
please?
okay? Is the coast clear for tonight? Yeah, George. He says we're in clear. Okay, good. Where are you now? In a phone booth, waiting. Don't worry, everything's okay for tonight. Very good. You remember the plan? Yes, I know it. At 11 o'clock, the private patrolman goes around the corner to the bar on 2nd Ave for a pint. There should only be one light visible from the street. Yes, I know. We went over this. And the train crosses the bridge at 11:15. It'll make enough noise if she screams. Just remember, our client doesn't want this dame to suffer long. Yes, I'll probably use a knife. One quick poke through the diaphragm and we should be good.
Hello?
No muss,
Operator.
no fuss.
Operator.
And get all the
Operator.
jewelry from the bureau and off of her. Gotta make it look like a simple robbery. Yes, don't micromanage, Donnie. This isn't my first murder.
Oh, how dreadful. Utterly terrible.
What number, please?
Operator, I'd just been cut off.
I'm sorry. What number were you calling?
Why, it was supposed to be Murray Hill 70093, but it wasn't. Some wires must have crossed. I was cut into a wrong number, and I've just heard the most dreadful thing, and something about a murder, and operator, you simply have to retrace that call at once.
I beg your pardon? May I help you?
Oh, I know it was a wrong number, and I had no business listening, but these two men, they were cold-blooded fiends, and they were going to murder somebody, some poor, innocent woman who was all alone in a house near a bridge, and we've got to stop them. We've got to.
Ma'am, what number were you calling, please?
Oh, that doesn't matter. This was a wrong number, and you dialed it for me, and we've got to find out what it was immediately.
What number did you call?
Oh, why are you being so stupid? What time is it? Do you mean to tell me you can't find out what that number was just now?
Would you like to be connected with the chief operator?
Oh, I think it's perfectly shameful. Now look, Look, it was obviously a case of some little slip of the finger. I told you to try Murray Hill 70093 for me. You dialed it, but your finger must have slipped, and I was connected with some other number, and I could hear them, but they couldn't hear me. Now, I simply fail to see why you couldn't make that same mistake again on purpose. Why you couldn't try to dial Murray Hill 70093 in the same sort of careless way.
Murray Hill 70093?
Yes.
I'll try to get it for you.
Well, thank you.
I'm sorry. Murray Hill 70093 is busy. I'll call you back in 20 minutes.
Oh, operator, operator, operator.
What number, please?
You didn't try to get that wrong number at all. I asked you explicitly, and all you did was dial correctly.
I'm sorry. What number are you calling?
Well, can't you for once forget what number I'm calling and do something for me? Now, I want to trace that call. It's my civic duty, and it's your civic duty to trace that call and apprehend those dangerous killers, and if you won't...
All right, I will connect you with the chief operator.
Please.
This is the chief operator.
Oh, chief operator, I want you to trace a telephone call immediately. I don't know where it came from or who was making it, but it's absolutely necessary that it be tracked down, because it was about a murder that someone's planning, a terrible, cold-blooded murder of a poor innocent woman tonight at 11:15.
I see.
You see. Well, can you trace the call for me? Can you track down those men?
I'm not certain. It depends.
Depends on what?
Well, it depends on if the call is still going on. If it's a live call, we can trace it on the equipment. If it's been disconnected, we can't.
Disconnected?
If the parties have stopped talking to each other.
But of course they'd have to have stopped talking to each other by now. That was at least 5 minutes ago, and they didn't sound like the type who would talk gossip and make a long call.
Well, I can try tracing it. May I have your name, please?
Mrs. Stevenson. Mrs. Eloise Stevenson. But listen.
And your phone number, please?
Plaza 42295. But if you go on wasting all this time...
Why would you like this call to be traced, please?
Why, well, no reason. I mean, I merely felt very strongly that something ought to be done about it. These men sounded like killers. They're dangerous. They're going to murder this woman at 11:15 tonight, and I thought the police ought to know.
Have you reported this to the police, ma'am?
Well, no, not yet.
You want this call checked purely as a private individual?
Yes, but while you're...
I'm sorry, Miss Stevenson, but I'm afraid we couldn't make this check for you and trace this call just on your say-so as a private individual. We'd have to have something more official.
Oh, for heaven's sake! You mean to tell me I can't report that there's going to be a murder without getting tied up in all this red tape? Why, it's perfectly idiotic. Fine, then. I'll call the police.
Thank you. I'm sure they'll do their best to...
Ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. The thought of it. I can't see why I have to go through all this trouble. Oh, come on.
Your call, please?
The police department. Get me the police department, please.
Thank you.
Police Precinct 43, Desk Sergeant Martin speaking.
Police department. This is Mrs. Stevenson. Mrs. Eloise Smythe Stevenson of 53 North Sutton Place. I'm calling to report a murder. I mean, the murder hasn't been committed yet, but I just overheard plans for it over the telephone over a wrong number that the operator gave me. I've been trying to trace down the call myself, but everybody is so stupid, and I guess in the end, you're the only people who can do anything.
Yes, ma'am.
It was a perfectly definite murder. I heard their plans distinctly. 2 men were talking, and they were going to murder some woman at 11:15 tonight. She lived in a house near a bridge. Are you listening to me?
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a private patrolman on the street. He was going to go around for a beer on 2nd Avenue, and there was some third man, a client who was paying to have this poor woman murdered. They were going to take her rings and bracelets and use a knife. Well, It's unnerved me dreadfully, and I'm not well, and I feel so nervous.
I see. When was all this, ma'am?
About 8 minutes ago. So you can do something. You do understand.
What was your name again, ma'am?
Mrs. Stevenson, Mrs. Eloise Stevenson.
And your address?
53 North Sutton Place. 53 North Sutton Place. That's near the Queensboro Bridge, you know, and we have a private patrolman on our street, and 2nd Avenue.
And what was the number you were calling?
Murray Hill, 70093. But that wasn't the number I overheard. I mean, Murray Hill 70093 is my husband's office. He's working late tonight, and I was trying to reach him to ask him to come home. I'm an invalid, you know, and this is the nurse's night off, and I hate to be alone, even though he says I'm perfectly safe as long as I have the telephone right beside my bed.
Well, we'll look into it, Miss Stevenson, and see if we can check it with the phone company.
But I've checked with the telephone company. The chief operator said that they couldn't check the call if the parties had already stopped talking. I've taken care of all that.
Oh, you have you?
Yes, and personally, I feel you ought to do something far more immediate and drastic than just check the call. What good does checking the call do if they've stopped talking? By the time you tracked it down, they'll already have committed the murder.
We'll take care of it, ma'am. Don't worry.
Well, I'd say the whole thing calls for a search, a complete and thorough search of the whole city. Now, I'm very near the bridge, and I'm not far from 2nd Avenue, and I know I'd feel a whole lot better if you sent around a radio car to this neighborhood at once.
And what makes you think that this murder is going to be committed in your area, ma'am?
Well, I don't know. Only the coincidence is so horrible. 2nd Avenue, the patrolman, the bridge.
2nd Avenue is a very long street, ma'am. And you know how many bridges there are in the city of New York alone?
Well, yes, I know that, but
Not to mention Brooklyn, Staten Island, Queens, the Bronx.
I know that.
How do you know there isn't some little house on Staten Island, on some little 2nd Avenue you've never heard about? How do you know they are even talking about New York at all?
I heard it on the New York dialing system.
Maybe it was a long distance call you heard.
Oh, don't.
Telephones are funny things. Look, lady, why don't you look at it this way? Supposing you hadn't broken in on that telephone call. Supposing you'd got your husband the way you always do. You wouldn't be so upset, would you?
Well, no, I suppose not. Only it sounded so inhuman, so cold-blooded.
A lot of murders are plotted in the city, ma'am. We managed to prevent almost all of them.
But
a clue of this kind is so vague, it's as useful as having no clue at all.
surely you...
Unless, of course, you have some reason for thinking this call was phony, and that someone may be planning to murder you.
With me... Oh, no, I hardly think so. I mean, why should anybody? I'm all alone all day and night. I see nobody except my nurse, and she's a big girl, too lazy to bring up my breakfast tray some days, and the only other person is my husband, Albert. He's crazy about me. He just adores me. He waits on me hand and foot. He scarcely left my side since I took sick, 12 years ago.
Well, then there's nothing for you to worry about. Now, if you'll just leave the rest of this to us, we'll take care of it.
But what will you do? It's almost 11 now.
We will take care of this, ma'am.
Will you broadcast it over the city, send out squads, warn your radio cars to watch out, especially in suspicious neighborhoods like mine?
I said we'll take care of it. Now, I have a couple other matters on my desk that require my immediate attention. Good night, ma'am, and thank you for your concern.
Oh, ugh! Idiot! Oh, now, why did I hang up the phone like that? He'll think I am a fool. Oh, why doesn't Albert come home? Why doesn't he just come home?
What number, please?
Operator, for heaven's sakes, will you please ring that Murray Hill 70093 number again? I can't think about what's keeping him so long.
Ringing Murray 70093.
I don't see why he wouldn't answer.
I'm sorry. Murray Hill 70093 is busy. I'll call you back.
I can hear that it's busy. If I could only get out of this bed for a little while. If I could get a breath of fresh air. Just lean out the window and see the street. Hello? Hello? Albert, is that you? What's the matter with this phone? Hello? Hello? Albert? Oh, who is this? I can't hear you. Ugh. Oh, just who is trying to call me?
Your call, please.
Hello, operator. I don't know what's the matter with this telephone tonight, but it's positively driving me crazy. I've never seen such inefficient, miserable service. Now look. I'm an invalid, and I'm very nervous, and I'm not supposed to be overexcited. But if this keeps on much longer...
What seems to be the trouble, ma'am?
Well, everything's wrong. I haven't had one bit of satisfaction out of one call I've made this evening. The whole world could be murdered for all you people care. And now my phone keeps ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing every 5 seconds, and when I pick it up, there's no one there.
I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am. If you will please hang up, I will test your line for you.
I don't want you to test it for me. I want you to put that call through, whatever it is, at once.
I'm afraid I cannot do that.
You can't? Why, if I may ask?
The dial system is automatic. If someone is trying to dial your number, there's no way to check it if the call is coming through the system or not, unless the person who's trying to reach your complains to his or her particular operator.
Why, of all the stupid, and meanwhile I've got to sit here in my bed suffering every time that phone rings, imagining everything that could be happening.
I will try to check the trouble for you, ma'am.
Check it. That's all anybody can do. Oh, what's the use of talking to you? You're so stupid.
Your call, please.
Young woman, I don't know your name, but there are ways of finding you out, and I'm going to report you to your superiors for the most unpardonable rudeness and insolence it's ever been my privilege. Give me the business office at once.
You may dial the number direct.
Dial it direct? I'll do no such thing. I don't even know the number.
The number is in the directory, or you may secure it by dialing information.
Listen here, you. Oh, what's the use? Oh, dear. Oh, for heaven's sake, I'm going out of my mind, out of my... Hello? Hello? Stop ringing me. Do you hear? Answer me. Who is this? Do you realize you're driving me crazy? Who's calling me? What are you doing it for? Now stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Hello? Hello? If you don't stop ringing me, I'm going to call the police. Do you hear? The police. Oh. Please, Albert, come home. Just come home. Oh, let it ring. Let it go on ringing. It's a trick of some kind. I won't answer. I won't, even if it goes on ringing all night. Oh, you ring. Go ahead and ring. Stopped. No, what's the matter? Why did they stop ringing all of a sudden? What time is it? Where did I put that clock? Oh, here it is, 5 to 11. Oh, they have decided something. They're sure I'm home. They heard my voice answer them just now. That's why they've been ringing me. Why no one has answered me. I'll just call the operator again. Oh, where is she? Why doesn't she answer?
Your call, please.
Where were you just now? Why didn't you answer at once? Never mind. Give me the police department again.
I'm sorry. The line is busy. I'll call you.
Busy? But that's impossible. The police department can't be busy. There must be other lines available.
The line is busy. I will try to get them for you later.
No. I've got to speak to them now, or it may be too late. I've got to talk to someone.
What number do you wish to speak to?
I don't No, there must be someone to protect people besides the police, a detective agency.
You will find agencies listed in the classified directory.
But I don't have a classified. I mean, I'm too shaken to look it up.
I'll connect you with information. Perhaps she will be able to help you.
No. Oh, you're being spiteful, aren't you? You don't care, do you, what happens to me? I could die and you wouldn't care. Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! What do you want from me?
Hello, is this Plaza 42295?
Yes. I'm so sorry. This is Plaza 42295.
This is Western Union. I have a telegram here for Mrs. Albert Stevenson. Is there anyone there to receive the message?
I'm Mrs. Stevenson.
The telegram is as follows. To Mrs. Albert Stevenson, 53 North Sutton Place, New York, New York. Darling, terribly sorry. Tried to get you for last hour, but line busy. Leaving for Boston 11 p.m. tonight on urgent business. Back tomorrow afternoon. Keep happy, love. Signed, Albert.
Oh, no.
Do you wish us to deliver a copy of your message?
No, thank you.
Thank you, madam. You have a good night.
Good night. No, I don't believe it. He couldn't do it. Not when he knows I'll be all alone. It's some trick. Some fiendish trick. He couldn't. He just couldn't.
Your call, please.
Operator, try that Murray Hill 70093 number for me. Just once more. Please.
You may dial that number direct.
Oh! He's gone. Albert. Oh, Albert. How could you? How could you? How could you? I can't be alone tonight. I can't. If I'm alone one more second, I'll go mad. I don't care what he says or what the expense is. I'm a sick woman. I need
information. May I help you?
I need the telephone number for Henchley Hospital.
Henchley Hospital. Do you have a street address?
No. It's somewhere in the 70s. It's a very small, private, and exclusive hospital where I had my appendix out 2 years ago. Henchley, Henc.
One moment, please.
Please hurry, and please, what time is it?
You may find out the time by dialing Meridian 71212.
Oh, for heaven's sake! I have no time to be dialing.
The number to Henchley Hospital is Butterfield 700105.
Butterfield 70105.
Henchley Hospital, good evening.
Nurses Registry.
Who was it you wished to speak to, please?
I want the nurses registry at once. I want a trained nurse. I want to hire her immediately for the night.
I see. What is the nature of the case, ma'am?
Nerves. I'm very nervous. I need a companion.
Have you been recommended by any doctors in particular?
No, but I really don't see why all this interrogating is necessary. I just want a trained nurse. I was a patient in your hospital 2 years ago, and after all, I do expect to pay this person for attending me.
We quite understand that, ma'am, but this is a late hour.
Yes, well,
it is hospital policy not to send people out on cases, unless the physician in charge feels it's an absolute necessity.
Well, it is absolutely necessary. I'm a sick woman. I'm very upset. Very. I'm alone in this house, and I'm an invalid. And tonight I overheard a telephone conversation that upset me dreadfully. In fact, if someone doesn't come tonight, I'm afraid I'll go out of my mind.
Well, I'll speak with Miss Phillips as soon as she comes in. What is your name, ma'am?
When do you expect Miss Phillips in?
I really couldn't say. She went out to supper at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock, but it's not 11 yet. Oh, my clock has stopped. I thought it was running down. What time is it?
Just 15 past.
What was that?
What was what, ma'am?
That click just now in my own telephone, as though someone had lifted the receiver off the hook of the extension telephone downstairs.
Well, I didn't hear anything, ma'am. Now about all this.
But I did. There's someone in this house, someone downstairs in the kitchen, and they're listening to me now. I won't pick it up. I won't let them hear me. I'll be quiet and they'll think, oh, but if I don't call someone now while they're still down there, there'll be no time.
Your call, please.
Operator, I'm in desperate trouble.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you. Please speak louder.
I don't dare. There's someone listening. Can you hear me now?
I'm sorry.
But you've got to hear me. Oh, please, you've got to help me. There's someone in this house, someone who's going to murder me, and you've got to get in touch with... Oh, there it is. There it is. Did you hear it? He's put it down. He's put down the extension phone. He's coming up. He's coming up the stairs. Give me the police department. The police department. Police department. Give it to me.
One moment, please.
I can hear him. He's nearer now. Oh, I hear him. Hurry, please. Oh, you have to. No.
Police Precinct 43, Desk Sergeant Martin speaking. Police Precinct 43, Desk Sergeant Martin speaking. Police Precinct 43, Desk Sergeant Martin speaking.
Well, police department, everything's okay. I'm sorry. I must have gotten a wrong number. And so, another episode of Suspense ends. That was Sorry Wrong Number, starring the wonderful Megan Klodnicki as Mrs. Stevenson. Next week, the last episode before we take a short hiatus comes out, as we go one final time to Duffy's Tavern in What's Opera Arch? If you enjoy the broadcast of Retrostatic Radio, please become a patron at patreon.com, which has tiers including upcoming table reads, live hangouts on Discord when applicable, and even voting to see which shows continue on in Season 2. If you want to become a sponsor or a producer for the station, email us at retrostaticradio@gmail.com to discuss our special offers and rates. Sharing is caring, so please follow, share, and subscribe. We're on every major social media outlet like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This concludes our broadcast day.